Hey guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about Oppenheimer, and the movie that came out last year with Cillian Murphy that ended up winning so many Academy Awards. Looks really beautiful on Blu-ray, on 4K Blu-ray. And I watched this last night. I watched it in cinemas as well on film print. I didn't see it in IMAX film print, but I did see it on 70 millimeter that means. Yeah, it looks beautiful, like the case, and yeah, you get a couple of discs in here, Blu-ray, 4K. But I really like this movie. Like, you wouldn't think overall, like, hey, it's just a pretty much 3 hour talking movie, but there are moments during this movie where you're just like, if you haven't seen it, then, you know, it's something about the building of the atomic bomb. I'm just gonna have a quick drink. But yeah, it's something about the building of the atomic bomb. It's how they built that in New Mexico. Robert Oppenheimer, J. Robert Oppenheimer, how he overseen the Manhattan Project, which is the project that built the atomic bomb. And the process, the mentality behind what happened after that, what happened during the building of that, and what happened afterwards with Robert Oppenheimer having his morals and his background questioned, and his allegiances questioned. Now, obviously, you can see the plastic still on this. I leave the plastic on here to protect the artwork. I mean, not everyone understands that, but I leave it on here because it's easier to cut from the bottom. And yeah, but also it's quite a good movie. Like, this was up against Barbie. Everyone remembers Barbenheimer. Like, let's get Barbie off the shelf. It's really jammed in there. It's steelbook. Everyone likes Barbenheimer. Everyone's comparing these two. It was the date night thing of last year, but I quite liked both of them. Like, Barbie's a great movie. I'll do that in another video. But Oppenheimer is something that is a great biopic. And look, we have a lot of great biopics. You have to understand that biopics are taking creative liberties, no matter which one you watch. Like, I did watch The Iron Claw recently, and I will talk about that at some point, but, that takes some creative liberties, because obviously there are aspects in that movie where they talk about, hey, Teddy Von Erich lost his leg, which he did. He wrestled for years without his leg. And there was a point where they were saying, oh, they were almost representing it like he lost his leg immediately after he won the world title from Flair, which is not true. That happened years later. He lost the title back to Flair. Years went by. There's also, like, there's a brother missing in that story with the Iron Claw. So I will go into that a bit more in my Von Erich sort of, yeah, I'll go into that later on in another video. But yeah, you have to understand this will not be 100% accurate to history. There are aspects in here that I'm sure have taken creative liberties. We don't know what Strauss said behind closed doors. We don't know. We think we know because the historical record says, but we don't actually know. This does a good job of portraying what it might have been like. A what-if scenario that may have played out in real life. We don't know. But Cillian is amazing in this movie. And I'm a massive fan of Cillian. Like, I've liked him since 28 Days Later. He is amazing in movies. He's amazing in TV. I still need to get around to watching Peaky Blinders, though. I've never watched Peaky Blinders, and I know that's going to shock some people, but never got around to it, because I was waiting for Blu-ray to come out, and for some reason, Blu-rays didn't come out in Australia for Peaky Blinders. We got the DVDs, at least, but yeah. Back to Oppenheimer. Cillian is amazing in this movie. Florence Pugh, amazing in this movie. Robert Downey Jr., my gosh, Robert Downey Jr. is amazing. And yeah, this just goes on. And a great all-star cast. And you get to kind of put yourself in the position of, yeah, what would happen if you invented this world-ending or destructive thing that has changed the world forever? Like, that's what Robert Oppenheimer would have had to go through in real life. Like, he created the atomic bomb, but in saying that, he changed the world by doing so, because now we see how that's played out decades later, almost a century later. And yes, it is a moral dilemma. You've created something that won the war and brought people home, but in doing so, it will use against the country in warfare that end a lot of lives, innocent lives as well. So it's kind of like, where does that morally, Robert Oppenheimer had to come to terms with that so many different ways. But he did build a weapon, so it's like, which point, like, I feel this does a good job of portraying that. And there's a great scene in this movie where Cillian Murphy, uh, Oppenheimer, meets with President Truman, who's played by Gary Oldman, which Gary Oldman, another brilliant actor, like legendary actor. And there's a great delivery from Gary Oldman where he says, "You, those people aren't going to matter who built the bomb. They're going to matter who used it." That's me. Like he talked about like how Truman talked to Oppenheimer. Like, I'm the president. I'm the one who used that, not you. You built it, but I used it. And that's really true. Like it shows all the moral dilemmas of like, yes, Oppenheimer built this, but he didn't use it. He didn't push the button. He didn't put it in the B-22. He didn't do any of that. He's like, yes, it shows all the moral dilemmas of history and how would you feel okay with that, or how would you feel if you did that? Like it's a really great movie of portraying that, and it gets it so right. Like this movie was a big sensation of last year, and I quite enjoyed it. So I'm doing the video about it, obviously. But yeah, I'm not going to rant too long. I think I've ranted for long enough on this video. But yeah, tell me how you feel about Oppenheimer. Not just the movie, but like Oppenheimer overall. Like, how do you feel about him as like historical purposes? How do you feel about how he is portrayed in the movie? How do you feel about how he's whatever? I mean, there's a scene in the movie where he's in the court, and yeah, there's a sex scene in that movie, but in that scene where they're in the court and Florence Pugh and all that, so yeah, there's a scene in there that I think a lot of people questioned when it first came out. Nolan just kept filming it, but it's not long as like people say. It's not a long scene. It's like here and there. But I quite enjoyed this movie. Tell me how you feel in my comments. I'll catch you in the next one. Like, subscribe, and yeah, tell me how you feel about the movie. Peace.